Hey, how's it going? Mike here. Welcome back to Uncommon Pallor. Hope you're all doing magnificently. It's early on a Sunday morning. I'm up for no reason whatsoever, so I figured I'd cut a video. I have got a ton of new shit lately, but I'm gonna pass on the collection update. I think instead I'm gonna try my hand at one of those like "What have you been listening to?" deals. So I pulled a dozen records out of my recently listened to stack, records that otherwise may never get discussed because they're usually filed away in my collection. So yeah, I'm just gonna grab me a swig of coffee and we'll get right into this. The first one, it's a single from 1978 on Rebel Records. It's a band from Montreal, Quebec, called the 222s. So I Love Susan, backed with the first studio bomb. Like a lot of early punk, the 222s, they were pretty firmly rooted in rock and roll, kind of a glam, influence to it. Uh, I Love Susan, it's definitely the poppier of the two tracks. Both tracks are fucking awesome, but I Love Susan's, definitely got more of a poppy edge. The chorus has got like a Beach Boys meets doo-wop thing going on, which is not as fucking horrible as that may seem. The first studio bomb's the track I like better. Uh, it's up tempo. The production of both songs is fairly raw, so it's just kind of adds to that, I guess. Hard record to find. If you do find it, it's fairly pricey. But the the real interesting thing with this band is in regard to their second single, which was La Poupée qui fait non. Now imagine that in good French. But yeah, like on the record I just showed, the keyboard player was the vocalist. But after that record, they got this guy named Chris Berry, who later went on to, get a little better known with a band called the 39 Steps. But I guess they pulled him right out of high school. But you may not know, but Montreal has a pretty storied history of mafia shit. So this mafia family decided they wanted to try their hand at you know a record label, and their whole intent was that they wanted to create kind of a teen heartthrob band from Montreal. So I guess they made the 222s an offer they couldn't refuse, and so they went in and they recorded this single. Now, of course, it didn't pan out, and you didn't see the 222s on the cover of fucking Teen Beat or anything. So they got scared that there was going to be retaliation because they didn't meet the expectations of these mobsters. So they fled to Toronto until everything blew over, and then I don't think the band ever got back doing shit after that. So pretty interesting. So yeah, if you ever actually happen to see this and you want to shell out the bucks for it, it's worth it. 222s. Next up from 1981 on Terminal Records from Cleveland, Ohio, a band called Bronx, Telekay Killing. The Bronx also pretty firmly rooted in rock and roll. There's definitely like a 50s rock and roll style at times. It's very sloppily played, which is kind of adds to the charm of it, I guess. The vocalist, his voice sounds kind of like he's going through puberty again. Like it cracks and kind of wavers a lot. If they were a tighter band and his voice was a lot stronger, they could maybe be like kind of a harder edged power pop band or something. But as it stands, they're just kind of one of those kind of ramshackle rock and roll bands that ended up being under the punk banner, as it were. But yeah, one of these guys was in the Pagans, and a couple of them were in a band called the AK-47s. The Pagans. That's all you really got to say. It's a good record, hard to find. I think it may have been comped on one of the Killed by Death compilations. I'm pretty sure it was. But a Reason to Whine was, anyways. The backing vocals on that song are fucking hilarious. So check it out if you can. Bronx. Here we go from 1979. It's a band from Laramie, Wyoming, called Accelerators. It's Cool to Rock. It's on Wide Open Records. This was also on one of the Kill by Death comps. The track All Right was, which was actually a pretty fast song for the time, I'd imagine. Like I said, they were from Laramie, Wyoming. They started out as a band called Dirty Dogs, and then in 1978 they moved to Los Angeles and became Accelerators. This is actually fucking great. The unfortunate thing with it is that two of the best songs on it, they got some pretty shitbag lyrics to them. I'm guessing they're tongue in cheek, but still, meh. Although, I mean, it is pretty indicative of the time. You could get away with saying a lot of shit back then and no one even batted an eye, but if you release something like that today, holy fuck. So, yeah, it's an expensive record. It's fairly sought after, and it's great. It's just unfortunate they got the shitty lyrics. So, yeah, Accelerators. It's cool to rock. We're going to jump ahead to 1987. A band from Waterloo, Ontario, just down the road from me. We got Nunfuckers, Dead and on the Floor. Pretty sought after record. It's gotten pretty expensive in the last few years. This is actually the first record that I ever mail ordered. Like, I had bought records for a few years before this came out, but always from record stores. This is the first one I ever actually sent cash in the mail for. Like I said, they're from Waterloo, Ontario, which is, about an hour away from me. It's good, fast, 80s hardcore, very thinly produced. Snare drum sounds like a plastic colander. Snotty vocals. Unfortunately, I never ever got to see them live. I did meet the singer once. He came to watch one of my bands play, or, well, I don't know if he came to watch us, but he was at one of our shows and he liked us, so he bought some shit, and then I found out who he was and had a discussion with him. But yeah, cool guy. But it does suck that I never saw him live. So yeah, Nunfuckers, Dead and on the Floor, self-released, 1987. And then we go back to 1981 with a weird fucking record. It's on O Records. It's Blimpy and the Heavies. Now just take that fucking cover in. This record is every bit as creepy as that cover is. It's a studio project by a producer named Bobby Orlando, who's got some renown to him. He's been involved in a bazillion studio projects over the years. But he was also in a lot of demand in the 80s by a lot of the the 80s synth pop bands and stuff like Pet Shop Boys and shit, because they apparently his producing style is pretty unique. It kicks off with a song called Sniffin' Panties, which is got kind of like a disco funk, backdrop to it, with this nasally, creepy guy just talking about deviant shit. It's a brilliant song. It's the one I heard first. I just randomly checked an MP3 out that I found somewhere along the line, and then I knew I had to have this record. The other winning track on this is Stephen Gray, Photographer of Men, which is weird as fuck. Awesome. There's only one track on here I don't really care for, because it's like there's piano in it. It sounds like it's out of a fucking rock opera or something, but, not a real expensive record. Kind of hard to track down, but, yeah. It's worth it for the cover alone. I actually have a second copy of this if anybody wants to do a trade. So, yeah, Blimpy and the Heavies. It's actually called Mini LP, but it doesn't say that anywhere on the record. And last, one with a less interesting cover, but it's from 1980? Yeah, 1980. It's on Boot Records. It's a band from Toronto called Erect. It was once owned by Tim. Thanks, Tim. Yeah, the A-side's We Are Police, B-side's The Colony. There's kind of a story to this one. A few years back, my band played a show in Windsor, Ontario at the Dominion House Tavern. We played with a band from Cleveland called Fuck You Pay Me, which, my friend Tony Urba is, or was the singer for that band. They decided, since they had to play Hamilton, Ontario the next day, they were going to stay at my place because it's halfway between Windsor and Hamilton. So we all get up the next day. They decide they want to eat, so they go down the street. There's a Boston Pizza down the street from my house. So they go in there, and then they strike up a conversation with the server. And when she found out that they were in a punk band, she's, told them that her mother and father had been in a band in Toronto in the late 70s, early 80s called Erect. And I'd never heard of them. So, not that I know every band that's ever been from Ontario. I'm pretty well versed, and I was kind of surprised I'd never heard of them. So then I saw this record for $1, at a thrift store. So I picked it up. The A-side, We Are Police, is actually really good. It's a really, really well done new wave song. There's male and female vocals. It's kind of Devo-ish, as could be expected. But yeah, it's a very, very well done song. It's kind of a head bobber. The Colony, a little less interesting to me. It's one of those ones where, there's elements of, different styles in there. There's like some stuff that kind of sounds almost like calypso type music, and then you're expecting it to go into ska at any time. Like it's long, it's drawn out, and it's kind of boring. It kind of actually reminds me of this old California band called Pearl Harbor and the Explosions, but it's kind of a deep dive for a lot of people, I'm sure. So, I don't know, it's not too bad. The A-side's really good. The B-side, not so much. So, Erect, We Are Police. Alright, now we'll jump into 12-inch records. 1985, Toronto. Direct Action, Trapped in a World. It's a split release between two labels, one being Irate Faction and the other being World Records. Direct Action, they started out in St. Catharines, Ontario, which is the fucking armpit of this province. I hate that fucking city. They started out as a more traditional punk band called the Unknowns. Then they moved to Toronto and started this, which is an entirely different monster. This is definitely, in my opinion, one of the best bands to ever come out of Toronto. Musically, it kind of sounds like a faster, more frantic Discharge, maybe, but with the kind of, I don't know, again, frantic nature of something maybe like a early MDC, maybe. Super good. Bass playing's awesome. It's super noodly and all over the place. Lots of cool accents with it. And the vocalist sounds like, Cal from Discharge if he was being pushed over a cliff, or if he was screaming at you while going by in a car at 140 clicks. Yeah, super, super good record. So yeah, check that out. Direct Action, Trapped in a World. Next up, Berlin, Germany. 1986. It's a band called No Allegiance. The record's called Mad, obviously. It's on Destiny Records, which I believe was just run by the band. There's some Lon Chaney Jr. going on. I bought this based on the fact that there was a picture of them in the Maximum Rock and Roll Welcome to Cruise Country photo zine that came out way back then, and I kind of wanted to check all those bands out that I hadn't heard. It turns out I had heard this band because they were previously known as Porno Patrol, and I've had that 7-inch for the jump. I think it's the Jump Back 7-inch. I've had that for years and years and years. It's gruff vocal, hardcore like you'd find in the 80s from Germany. This is the time where European bands started to kind of embrace the US style. So it's definitely got I don't know, they're not real fast. They're kind of on the cusp of being fast, but they also kind of have that plodding groove to them that someone like maybe Dr. No had during, like the song Deprogram, where it's just got that steady, kind of a groove beat that's kind of infectious. Members of this band were also in Combat Not Conform, which was another great German band, and the one guy was in Abratsk, which is a super obscure band, but I happen to have a split 7-inch between them and another German band called Galloping Elephants, and Nebraska's actually really, really good. So, it's nothing groundbreaking, but it's just good, thick, gruff vocal European hardcore from '86. Next up, probably the most unnecessary bootleg I've ever seen. It's from 2004, and I basically got it just because what a weird fucking thing to do. But it's Septic Death's theme from Ozo Bozo, which came out in 1992. And the other side is Cryptic Slaughter's Convicted, which came out in '86. It's, I thought the sound quality would be fucking horrible, but it's actually not bad. They've removed one track off each record to make it fit on, one 12-inch. Like they took Kichigai off of Theme from Ozo Bozo and Nuclear Future off of the Cryptic Slaughter one. Now, Septic Death, super influential, from Boise, Idaho. The singer was Pusshead, who did Pussmort Records and all the Metallica art that people know him for, and crazy Japanese toys and shit. Kind of trailblazers in the raw, ramshackle kind of, crazy hardcore that your parents definitely fucking hated. Great band. It's just really weird they do this. Cryptic Slaughter from Santa Monica, California. Early kind of crossover. Definitely still rooted in hardcore. Angry, fast as fuck. Blew my fucking head off when I heard it back then. Had to go get the record, as soon as possible, and I did. But what a weird fucking thing to do. I don't know. I'm still shocked it actually sounds good, because I thought it would just be horrible. And speaking of Pusshead, here's a record on his label. It's the Thrash Till Death compilation. It's from 1987. Originally came out on Selfish Records in '86, but never seen a copy of that. Had this one forever. 4 heavy hitters of the Japanese hardcore world on this one. It's got Gauze, Lip Cream, Auto, and Systematic Death. Yeah, all similar styles, obviously, but it's just angry, shouting, well played, tight, Japanese hardcore. If you've heard Japanese hardcore, you kind of know what to expect, and you get it in spades here. So, check it out. Thrash Til Death. Some more crossover from, when is this from? I wrote it down. 1989. It's Angkor Wat. When Obscenity Becomes the Norm. Awake. Band from Corpus Christi, Texas. Fairly technical crossover. It, the guitar player for this band, this guy right there, good old Edith Bunker, ended up going on to play guitar and keyboards for 9 Inch Nails, and then at least one of these guys went on to be in that band Screw with a K that I vaguely remember from back in the day. I think they were kind of an industrial metal thing. I first heard them on the Complete Death 2, I think, compilation. The song Emotional Blackmail was on there, and I thought it was cool. But like I said, it's pretty technical crossover stuff. Vocalist kind of sounds like a cross between Bill Crooks from Cryptic Slaughter and Blaine from The Accused. It's pretty good. They have a second record called Corpus Christi that I've never actually heard. But that record's on Death Records anyways, same as a Complete Death comp, so it's worthwhile. Check it out. And then last, got a classic metal band, Bonsai Records from 1984. It's WASP, Animal Fuck Like a Beast. 2 actually great tracks, like most WASP tracks I can get behind. This one's got Animal Fuck Like a Beast and Show No Mercy. They always kind of got lumped in with the hair metal, cock rock type deal, and I kind of think they're a little more than that. Like image-wise, maybe they kind of fit into that, genre, but Even their kind of more ballady tracks are pretty good. Like they're heavier than most. I don't know. They just got something going on. Lots of theatrics and shit like that. Chris Holmes, a fucking train wreck now. He's playing down around here, sometime after the COVID wears off. And so I'll definitely go see that because that's bound to be interesting. But yeah, I'll buy any record that has a fucking buzzsaw or a cod piece on it. So there's no regrets here. So, anyways, that's it. Fucking out of here. Later.